Hello. So, I'm back. This is part 2. My first video, part 1 of, this is part 2 of the first video of Asperger's subtypes, signs, and symptoms. So, I'm going to be as quick as I can, but I'm going to go over what Asperger's really is, which I should have probably done in the first video, just to clarify what it is, and if you don't really know exactly what it is, you just have a basic idea. It is a pervasive developmental disorder, which means that a pervasive developmental disorder is a severe and pervasive disorder that affects certain areas of development, such as social skill interaction, or social interaction skill, sorry, dyslexia, social interaction skills, communication skills, and maybe represented by repetitive and ritualistic stereotype behavior. So yeah, that what falls under these would be like, or what falls under pervasive developmental disorder, or PDD, is learning disorders, reading disorders, autism, which Asperger's is actually on the autistic spectrum. And I think in the DSM-5, Asperger's is not even a diagnosis. It's just all on the autistic spectrum. Yeah, so that's the basic of what it really is. And Asperger's is basically defined as severe impairment in social interaction and communication, which may, and along with certain repetitive behaviors, rituals, and intense interests, not appropriate for that age level or for the person. That's not really stereotypical of, it's not stereotypical of a 5-year-old girl to be in love with cars and know every car there is out there. That's not normal. So, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to go over the signs and symptoms pulled right out of the beautiful DSM-4. I will always show this to you if that's where I get my information, because I have this because I love and study willingly by myself psychology, because it is my passion. I will always study it forever. Okay. So, the first symptom is impaired use of and understanding of nonverbal cues. This means eye contact, gesturing, facial expressions, those kinds of things. Typically, you'll see with Asperger's that they don't look a lot of people in the eye, or they stare. And that's actually a little bit different. They may not be willingly looking you in the eye when they're staring at you. They're off in their own world. I've done this a few times. I'm better at it now because I'm aware when people look at me most of the time, and I'm like, oh, I'm not staring. I'm not trying to stare at you. But we're off in our own world, and we just happen to be looking in the direction of you, and we don't mean to be staring at you. We just are, because we don't realize that we're staring. And just as a child, in childhood, it may be pretty significant impairment of understanding and using nonverbal cues, such as just different facial expressions to express oneself, and body language of all kinds. That's pretty self-explanatory. Moving on. Second one would have to be failure to make friends. Pretty much self-explanatory as well. The reason, though, that they fail to make friends is because they're off-putting most of the time as kids. This is really what you see in the Aspie child. They fail to make friends properly because they don't know how to give and take in conversation. They don't know how to take turns talking. For instance, somebody may be talking, or a kid may be talking to them, hey, look at this truck, and in the middle of, hey, look at this truck, the Aspie interrupts with, you have a truck? I have a truck. My truck is brown. I really like trucks because I like this, and they start listing everything they know about it, and they just start talking because they don't understand that the correct response to that would probably be more, cool, I have a truck too. Where'd you get yours? Just as give and take. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's, I don't know. Anyway, that's just an example. But that would probably be the reason why they fail to make friends properly, or just awkward responses, not understanding certain things, and really pushes people away because they realize that there's something wrong there. So the next one is lack of showing and bringing objects of interest to others spontaneously. This really means, obviously, you find something interesting. For instance, I found these bouncy balls. I find them everywhere. I pick things up off the ground that I find interesting. I really can't help it because I really like that thing, and I found this one, and I have like 5 others that I found. The child Aspie, the Chaspie, they might find this and then put it in their pocket and keep it, and they go home and then they might study it, or they don't even put it in their pocket, they just kind of look at it, but they're not going to go off and say, hey, look what I found, hey Jimmy, look what I found, or hey Rebecca, look what I found. They keep it to themselves, mostly because, not because they don't want to share, but because they don't really understand how to share those kinds of things. But yeah, that one. Okay, moving on. Lack of social and emotional reciprocity. This one is a biggie for Aspies. For instance, reciprocity is off of the word reciprocal, which means, to mirror, basically. Not to mirror, because that'd be to mimic, but to basically get in return, to receive in return. So when I'm having a conversation with you, I'm not getting as much as I'm giving, if that makes sense. I'm giving a lot of material to work off of, and I'm giving you certain sentences that that sounds like I don't know what social situations are. I do to an extent, but I'm giving, and you should be able to take that and then give back, based off of just really social interaction, the intuition, the innate ability to be able to communicate. But, and the same with emotions. If someone in front of you, or not that so much, but with emotional response on the outside, maybe not on the inside, you may actually feel it on the inside, but you may not show it on the outside, and that's really what it comes down to. Or you just don't know how. You don't know how to show it. You don't know how to socially interact. Okay. The next one, the 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I have a note card, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, the 5th one. I don't know why I counted those. The 5th one would be preoccupations. Intense preoccupations. And limited, really, just very narrow. For instance, a kid with Asperger's and an adult with Asperger's may be interested in something like, they always give the example of vacuum cleaners. There's really nothing special about a vacuum cleaner to most people, but to the Aspie it may be fascinating because of the way it works, and they may not even be interested in the vacuum cleaner as a whole, but just a part of it. And that's actually that's actually the last symptoms or sign. Persistent preoccupation with parts of objects. So in a cell phone, if the Aspie is just completely obsessed with cell phones, they may be obsessed with the camera. Nothing more, really. They want to know how the camera works in it. They want to know how that works in relation to this, but not really the whole thing. They focus so intently on the smallest detail sometimes. that they completely lose track of everything else, lose sight of everything else. Yeah, so these preoccupations, typically the Aspie will know a lot about their preoccupation or their interest. If they are interested in boats, they'll probably be able to tell you every boat, every type of boat, every or how fast, every stat of the boat. You know, just there's a sailboat, there's a canoe, there's this and this and this and this one. You know, they'll learn as much as they can about it because it's fascinating to them, and they'll be able to, you know, quote that to you basically, and just kind of spew facts at you. And it's kind of off-putting because really in social situations, um, sometimes that's all they can talk about. But this is in kids. In adults, it's a little bit different. Um, and it's not saying, and I'm not saying that this is all what all Aspies look like, and this is all that they will do. They will not be able to make friends. All they'll talk about is boats. No, I have intense preoccupations, psychology, and I do talk a great deal about it, but I realize now, for the most part, when I need to shut up and when it's their turn to talk. That's why I make these videos. I don't have to let you guys talk. No, yeah, just kidding. Okay, next one is repetitive motor functions, or basically repetitive movements, stereotyped repetitive movements. A lot of Aspies pace. I'm a pacer. I pace back and forth and just talk to myself. And when I do this, I go into my own little world, really. And it's not like it's more of an intense zoning out. There's zoning out to the point where you're still aware, and everybody, I think even normal people do this on occasion. The difference is Aspies do it on a very, very regular basis. Almost necessary. It's almost necessary for the Aspie because this world is so full of stimuli that their brains are so focused on every single one of them that eventually, you know, the brain is like a sponge. Eventually you cannot put any more water in the sponge after it's already been absorbed. It's been fully absorbed, and you just have to go into your own world. And of course, I can be quickly snapped out of it as soon as I see a person or I see movement or hear a loud sound, and it scares the crap out of me. Like, because I literally, it's almost like I forget that there's a whole world around me and that there are other people in this world. It's just me. And I'm not saying it's just me who does that. It's Aspies who do that, but it's just me in my own world. And when I do this, this is my repetitive behavior, and it comforts me. When I'm anxious, when I'm scared, this is what I do. I pace, which can be helpful, but then again, not so much, because then I'll realize that I've walked really far and I have no idea where I am. Usually I go in a circle. I'll go in a circle around my apartment building so I know where I am, but sometimes I'll stop. I'm like, where am I? And then I just realize that I'm facing the other direction. So, yeah, that would be the repetitive motions and all that. The next one is inflexible, non-functional routines and rituals. For instance, some people and some Aspie kids will eat the same thing every day, and they don't like changing their routine. If they set a routine for themselves, even if that routine seems redundant and kind of silly to everyone else, to the Aspie, it's their routine, and that's what they do. And it's just best to keep it that way. And they're pretty inflexible. I already said that, I think. But yeah, they just, or the way they shower, they do it in a certain order. I know I do. I shower in the same order every time. I eat my food a certain way every time. And I guess I would be okay with changing it up every now and then, but as long as I willingly change it, that's fine. If I willingly change it, I'm okay with that. But if somebody else tries to change it for me, that is not okay. And I think a lot of Aspies can agree. And then the last one, like I already went over, persistent preoccupation with parts of objects. So the camera on the cell phone rather than the whole cell phone, just that narrow focus, that intense narrowing in on one thing of an object or a subject. Just like right now, I love psychology, but I am intensely and narrowly focused on specifically Asperger's, and I have been studying it for almost 2 weeks straight. Nothing else. I have not. It's gotten me a little bit in trouble at work because I'll be sitting there in the back reading and I'm supposed to be working, but this is what I want to do. So, unfortunately, if it's what I want to do, it's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah. So, I will be making more videos, but this is the end of this one. I'm sorry that it still lasted 16 minutes like the other one. I'm glad you stuck with it, though. Thank you for watching again, and stay tuned. Once again, later.